So we're back again. So we continue, still at part 4. So we had gone into part 4, we're still at part 4. She threw me a glance as she rambled through the contents of the jam-packed fridge. I'm going to tell you something now, Kathy, that I've never told you before. You look very much as I did at your age, but you're not like me in your personality. You are much more aggressive and much more determined. Your father used to say that. Your father used to say that you were like his mother, and he loved his mother. Doesn't everybody love their mother? No, she said with a queer expression. There are some mothers you just can't love, for they don't want you to love them. That's strange. That's a strange comment to say to your daughter. Anyhow, she took bacon and eggs from the refrigerator, then turned to take me in her arms. Dear Kathy, you and your father had a very special, close relationship, and I guess you must miss him more because of that. Sorry, let me just read this back, folks. She took bacon and eggs from the refrigerator, then turned to take me in her arms. Dear Kathy, you and your father had a very special, close relationship, and I guess you must miss him more because of that. More than Christopher does, or even the twins. I sobbed against her shoulder. I hate God for taking him. He should have lived to be an old man. He won't be there when I dance and when Christopher is a doctor. Nothing seems to matter now that he's gone. Sometimes, she began in a tight voice, death is not as terrible as you think. Your father will never grow old or infirm. He'll always stay young. You'll remember him that way. Young, handsome, strong. Don't cry. Don't cry anymore, Kathy. For as your father used to say, there's a reason for everything and a solution for every problem. I like this. I'm going to mark this. I love this. I love this little quote here. There's a reason for everything, which I always believe that, and a solution for every problem. I believe so too. Yeah. There's a reason for everything and a solution for every problem. And I'm trying hard to do, we're continuing. So after she said this little quote, she says, and I'm trying hard to do what I think best. We were 4 children stumbling around in the broken pieces of our grief and loss. We would play in the back garden, trying to find solace in the sunshine, quite unaware that our lives were soon to change so drastically, so dramatically, that the words backyard and garden were to become for us synonyms for heaven and just as remote. It was an afternoon shortly after Daddy's funeral, and Christopher and I were with the twins in the backyard. They sat in the sandbox with small shovels and pails. Over and over again they transferred sand from one pail to another, gibbering back and forth in the strange language only they could understand. Corey and Kerry were fraternal rather than identical twins, yet they were like one unit, very much satisfied with each other. They built a wall about themselves, so they were the castle keeps and full guardians of their ladder of secrets. They had each other, and that was enough. The time for dinner came and went. We were afraid that now even meals might be cancelled. So even without our mother's voice to call us in, we caught hold of the dimpled, fat hands of the twins and dragged them along towards the house. We found our mother seated behind Daddy's big desk. She was writing what appeared to be a very difficult letter. If the evidence of many discarded beginnings meant anything, She frowned as she wrote in longhand, pausing every so often to lift her head and stare off into space. "Mummy," I said, "it's almost 6 o'clock. The twins are growing hungry." In a minute," she said in an offhand way. "I'm writing to your grandparents who live in Virginia. The neighbors have brought us food enough for a week. You could put one of the casseroles in the oven, Kathy." It was the first meal I almost prepared myself. I had the table set and the casserole heating and the milk poured. When Mummy came in to help, it seemed to me that every day after our father had gone, our mother had letters to write and places to go, leaving us in the care of the neighbor next door. At night, Mummy would sit at Daddy's desk, a green book open in front of her, checking over stacks of bills. Nothing felt good anymore. Nothing. Often now, my brother and I bathed the twins, put on their pajamas and tucked them into bed. Then, Christopher would hurry off to his room to study, while I would hurry back to my mother to seek a way to bring happiness to her eyes again. A few weeks later, a letter came in response to the many our mother had written home to her parents. Immediately, Mummy began to cry. Even before she had opened the thick, creamy envelope, she cried. Clumsily, she used a letter opener, and with trembling hands she held 3 sheets, reading over the letter 3 times. All the while she read, tears trickled down her cheeks, smearing her makeup with long, pale shining streaks. She had called us in from the backyard as soon as she had collected the mail from the box near the front door. And now we 4 were seated on the living room sofa. As I watched, I saw her soft, fair, drenched face turn into something cold, hard, resolute. A cold chill shivered down my spine. Maybe it was because she stared at us for so long, too long. Then she looked down at the sheets held in her trembling hands, then to the window. As if there she could find some answer to the question of the letter. Mummy was acting so strangely. It made us all uneasy and unusually quiet, for we were already intimidated enough in a fatherless home without a creamy letter of 3 sheets to glue our mother's tongue and harden her eyes. Why did she look at us so oddly? Finally, she cleared her throat and began to speak, but in a cold voice, totally unlike her customary soft, warm cadence. "Your grandmother has at last replied to my letters," she said in that icy voice. "All those letters I wrote to her. Well, she has agreed. She's willing to let us come and live with her." Good news. Just what we were waiting to hear. And we should have been happy. But Mummy fell into that moody silence again, and she just sat there staring at us. What was the matter with her? Didn't she know we were hers and not some strangers, 4 perched in a row like birds on a clothesline? Christopher, Kathy, at 14 and 12, you 2 should be old enough to understand and old enough to cooperate and help your mother out of a desperate situation. She paused, fluttered one hand up to nervously finger the beads at her throat, and sighed heavily. She seemed on the verge of tears, and I felt sorry, so sorry for poor Mummy. without a husband. Mommy, I said, is everything okay? Is everything all right? Of course, darling, of course. She tried to smile. Your father, God rest his soul, expected to live to a ripe old age and acquire in the meantime a sizable fortune. He came from people who knew how to make money, so I don't have any doubts he would have done just what he planned, if given the time. But 36 is so young to die. People have a way of believing nothing terrible will ever happen to them, only to others. We don't anticipate accidents, nor do we expect to die young. Why? Your father and I thought we would grow old together. We hoped to see our grandchildren before we both died on the same day. Then neither of us would be left alone to grieve for the one who went first. Again she sighed. I have to confess, we lived way beyond our present means, and we charge against the future. We spent money before we had it. Don't blame him. It was my fault. He knew all about poverty. I knew nothing about it. You know how he used to scold me? Why? When we bought this house, he said we needed only 3 bedrooms and I wanted 4. Even 4 didn't seem enough. Look around. Look around. There's a 30-year mortgage on this house. Nothing here is really ours. Not this furniture, not the cars, not the appliances in the kitchen or laundry room. Not one single thing is fully paid for. Did we look frightened? Scared? She paused as her face flushed deeply red and her eyes moved about the room. And her eyes moved around the lovely room that set off her beauty so well. Her delicate brows screwed into an anxious frown. Though your father would chastise me a little, still he wanted them too. He indulged me because he loved me, and I believe I convinced him finally that luxuries were absolute necessities, and he gave in. For we had a way, the two of us, of indulging our desires too much. It was just another of the things we had in common. Her expression collapsed into one of forlorn reminiscence before she continued on in her stranger's voice. Now our beautiful things will be taken away. The legal term is repossession. That's what they do when you don't have enough money to finish paying for what you've bought. Take that sofa for example. 3 years ago it cost $800 and we paid all but $100, but still they're going to take it. We lose all that we've paid on. We lose all that. Let me read back this again, folks. We lose all that we've paid on everything, and that's still legal. Not only will we lose this furniture and the house, but also the cars. In fact, everything but our clothes and your toys. They're going to allow me to keep my wedding band, and I've hidden away my engagement diamond. So please don't mention I ever had an engagement ring to anyone who might come to check. So she's telling all of this. So folks, she's telling all of this to the children, especially to the 2 older ones. Who they were, not one of us asked. It didn't occur to me to ask, not then. And later it just didn't seem to matter. Christopher's eyes met mine. I floundered in the desire to understand and struggled not to drown in the understanding. Already I was sinking, drowning in the adult world of death and depth. My brother reached out and took my hand, then squeezed my fingers in a gesture of unusual brotherly reassurance. Was I a window pane so easy to read that even he, my arch tormentor, would seek to comfort me? I tried to smile, to prove to him how adult I was, and in this way gloss over that trembling and weak thing I was cringing into because they were going to take everything. I didn't want any other little girl living in my pretty peppermint pink room, sleeping in my bed, playing with the things I cherished, my miniature dolls in their shadow box frames, and my sterling silver music box with the pink ballerina. Would they take those too? Mummy watched the exchange between my brother and me very closely. She spoke again with a bit of her former sweet self showing. Don't look so heartbroken. It's not really as bad as I've made it seem. You must forgive me if I was thoughtless and forgot how young you still are. I've been told, I've told you the bad news first and save the best for the last. Now hold your breath. Hold your breath. You are not going to believe what I have to tell you. For my parents are rich, not middle class rich or upper class rich, but very rich. Filthy, unbelievable, sinfully rich. They live in a fine big house in Virginia. Such a house as you've never seen before, I know. I was born there and grew up there. And when you see that house, this one will seem like a shocking comparison. And didn't I say we are going to live with them? My mother and my father. She offered the straw of chair with a weak and nervously fluttering smile that did not succeed in releasing me from doubts which her demeanor and her information had pitched me into. I didn't like the way her eyes skipped guiltily away when I tried to catch them. I thought she was hiding something. Something she was hiding. But she was my mother, and Daddy was gone. Let's see something. I picked up Carrie and sat her on my lap, pressing her small warm body close against mine. I smoothed her damp golden curl that fell over her rounded forehead. Her eyelids drooped, and her full rosebud lips pouted. I glanced at Corey, crouching against Christopher. The twins are tired, Mommy. They need their dinner. Time enough for dinner. Time enough for dinner later. Time enough for dinner later, she snapped impatiently. We have plans to make and clothes to pack. For tonight we have to catch a train. The twins can eat while we pack. Everything you four wear must be crowded into only 2 suitcases. I want you to take only your favorite clothes and the small toys you cannot bear to leave. Only one game. I'll buy you many games after you are there. After you're there. Kathy, you select what clothes and toys you think the twins like best, but only a few. We can't take along more than 4 suitcases, and I need 2 for my own things. Oh golly, this was real. We had to leave, abandon everything. I had to crowd everything into 2 suitcases. My brothers and sister would share as well. My raggedy aunt doll would my raggedy aunt doll alone would have filled 1 suitcase. Yet, how could I leave her, my most beloved doll, the one Daddy gave me when I was only 3? I sobbed. So we sat with our shocked faces staring at Mommy, and this made her terribly uneasy, for she jumped up and began to pace the room. As I said before, my parents are extremely wealthy. She shot Christopher and me an appraising glance, then quickly turned to hide her face. "Mommy," said Christopher, "is something wrong?" I marveled that he could ask such a thing when it was only too obvious everything was wrong. So we'll pause right there, folks. Yep. So we're still at part 4. We'll pause there and we will be back again. Yeah, it's a really sad story that, the father has passed, and then they have to just get up and leave to go and live with these grandparents. And they don't know what the grandparents is like. They don't know if the mommy is speaking the truth, telling them how it will be nice and what have you. Yeah, life sometimes has some unexpected challenges. So as we read on, we will see what happened. And yeah, we'll go through and see what happens, and the suspense will unfold. Yeah, it's life. Anyway, folks, we pause there for today. Thank you for joining me. You folks do have a productive week. I don't know, every time I come on, my hands tend to be dry. I was washing before I came on and I forgot to put some lotion. My hands are so dry. I need to care my hands better. Anyhow, folks, thanks for joining me. Please remember to like, subscribe. What am I saying? My tongue is being twisted. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. So please tell your friends about it. Please share with your friends. I'm still waiting on you folks to answer some of the questions that I had posted from my last book. So hopefully when I come back on, I would have gotten some questions. Don't you guys want a bag of tea or a jar of nice smelling candles? Yeah, so please answer one of the questions. Alright, so remember, like, subscribe, and share. I am going to be posting some other stuff on my page next week. You will see. So I won't speak much about that until when I get back on. So remember, you can find me on YouTube, and it's Karen Vibes. So it's KarenVibes with an exclamation sign. So that's on YouTube where you can find me. So it's reading for the mature audience. So thank you, folks. Enjoy the rest of the day. And I'll be back on before the week is out. I'll be back on again because we want to do as much reading as possible. So enjoy the rest of the day. Take care of yourself. Be careful out there. I don't know if it's raining where you are, but just be careful on the road. Alright, peace out. See ya.